Do, 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 do. Bum, ba, bum, ba-dum. Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast, podcast number are we on? 1134. Yeah, we've been doing these a while. We were doing them as Facebook Lives, and then on number 1097, we switched to doing them as podcasts. So, welcome. And what is Before the Dirt Nap? I've had a lot of people going, what is Before the Dirt Nap? What does that mean? It basically means before the dirt nap, before you die. It's as simple as that. So it is, what do you want to do? So what do you want to do before your dirt nap? What do you want to do that is going to help you live your best life now? What do you want to do that is going to help you live a life of no regrets? And just ensure that not only are you living your best life now, but you are leaving a legacy for those that are coming behind you as well. When you think about forging paths and that sort of stuff, your ancestors have actually gone before you. So you're actually following in their footsteps. You're following in the footsteps that, your ancestors have left behind. When you think about it, it's actually quite cool because some of your traits are actually passed down through your DNA. So if you didn't know that, now you do. So, but that is not what tonight's topic is about, although that is a really good topic. I'm going to have to put that on for another night. Tonight is talking about taking care of you. Do you take care of yourself? Because if you're not taking care of your health, how can you live your best life now? If you're not taking care of you, how can you live your best life now? So we're going to be looking at that a little bit tonight. Not so much on the health and wellness side, although it is part of living your best life now. And that is completely up to you how you want to take care of your health. Some people are big exercisers. I'm not. Some people are very much into exercise, and that's fine by me. If they want to spend a couple of hours in the gym, I actually used to spend a couple of hours in the gym each morning. I would get up at 4:30. I would leave the house at 5:00. I would leave the house at 5:30 because I would get to the gym at 6:00 when it opened, and I could be there for an hour or two based on what day it was before I drove back home, and that was how I would start my day. I actually love, and the cool thing about the gym that I went to at the time is it was a small private gym. It wasn't one of these big national chain type gyms because I did not feel comfortable in those. I felt like this was my opinion. It is not fact. It is my opinion. My opinion was, and this is how I felt at the time, being very self-conscious of my size, because I'm not the smallest person in the world. I get that. I'm short, yes, but I'm a little on the wide side. But in my opinion, and the way I felt was like it was a big parade. It was a big fashion show. It was a very much a wow, look at me and look how beautiful I look in this, look how good I'll look and everything else. Yet when I went to the small private gym, there was just a handful of people in there at a time. I think the most I ever saw in that gym at one time would probably been about 15 people. And that was crowded. But it was a small private gym and everybody respected everybody else. Everybody knew everybody else. Everybody said hello. And there was no parading. There was, if people wanted to be there in shorts and t-shirt and workout shorts, nobody cared. They didn't care if you didn't have the latest leotard on or the yoga pants or whatever the current fashion was. It was it felt at home there in that small private gym. And that's why I enjoy going to it so much, is because of the atmosphere that they had created in this gym. There was also a Muay Thai school as well. So that was martial arts from, it was a kickboxing thing, Muay Thai. Thailand? I want to say Thailand. It's been a while since I was there. But I used to enjoy watching some of the guys come in and they had a ring there in the back corner, and then they had a workout room with mats. They had a room with all the mats and the punching bags and things out there. And I enjoyed taking my frustrations out on the punching bags. Those were awesome. I learned to punch. I learned to kick. It was awesome. I loved it. And the fighters were all great guys. They would give you encouragement. that help spot you if they see, they come over and say, do you need somebody to spot you? I'm like, yep. And they'd be happy to jump in and help spot you and that sort of thing. And but they were just really good guys, and I got to know some of them, and they were great people, and I just enjoyed my time at the gym there. But I don't, and when I'm traveling in the RV, there's lots of different gyms around, and yes, there's national chains and all of that, and I keep thinking, yeah, no, you get lost in the big ones. You really do. As an individual, you get lost in the big ones, and it still, to me, feels very much of a parade of look at me, look how great I look, and I'm there, in t-shirts and baggy t-shirt and yoga pants, with shoes on that are comfortable and that work. So, but like I said, in the small gym, I felt this one that I belonged to in when we were living in LA, I loved it because I didn't feel like I had to have the latest fashion on, like I did when I went to some of the bigger gyms. So I kind of miss that, and but we'll get back there one day. We'll see. But I just like the small private gyms because they just feel more homey, and you actually feel like you're seen and not judged. If that's a good way. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. That is not fact. It is my opinion. You may have the same opinion, and that's good. You may have a completely different opinion, and that's good because it's completely your opinion. But anyway, so we're talking about taking care of ourselves. So exercise, nutrition, great ways, and people you've got to find, if you want to do something about what you're eating and everything else, you have to find what works for you. And yes, it will take a lot of looking and a lot of research. And you get these people that come in and go, oh, I drank this magic drink and I lost. Yeah, you don't lose weight. We release weight. So that's another thing, is that when you're taking care of yourself, is watch the language you are using. If you are trying to reduce the number on the scales, we talk about releasing weight rather than losing weight, because the brain will turn around when you say lost or that you're losing. The brain's going to turn around and go, we have lost something. Let's go find it. Where did it go? Where's it hiding? And it starts looking for it. And that's how the weight comes back on, and you end up putting on more because it found excess weight while you was looking for the lost weight. It found more than it should. So we talk about releasing weight. And, I have my I am statement that says that I am releasing weight for those that need it. Because the universe works in checks and balances. For every subtraction over here, you've got to have an addition on this side. It's like in accounting. For every debit, there's a credit. So when you release some weight, somebody needs to pick it up. Somebody needs it. So there are always people out there who, for the good of their health, need to put weight on. And the ones I always think of are NICU babies, the little preemies that come in, they're like 2 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever. And they these little tiny little babies, and they have to put on weight and get to a healthy weight before they're allowed to go home. So every time that I say my I am statements, I may take on their, the NICU babies in the local hospital that need to put weight on so they can go home and thrive. So I'm always trying to figure out things that way as well. But the golden care, now as somebody who was a caregiver for 9 years, 8 months and 3 days for my husband as he was going through cancer, and then his big long hospital stay before he passed almost 5 years ago, one of the hardest things I had to learn during that time was I had to take care of me first. That went so against who I am. I am more about taking care of others before taking care of myself. And that was my biggest downfall. But I had this amazing support group, this cancer caregivers support group, that was at the Loudon and Nova Hospital back in Virginia. And I made some amazing friends there, got to meet some incredible people, and they were really good at making sure I took care of myself. And for me at the time, when I started at that, was just before Brad had his very first surgery. And then he was in hospital. So there was long hospital stays, I was there by 6 o'clock in the morning for the doctors when they did their rounds. I was there at 8 o'clock in the evening. I left after the night nurses came on and had done their initial rounds, just to see who was looking after my husband that night, making sure that they had all the information that they needed. So I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning before the doctors started their rounds, so I could be there when the doctors came in and said what they had to say. And then I wouldn't leave till the night nurse came through and did their rounds, so that they could, so I could see who was on that night, because I would see them again the next morning as well when I came in, as they were doing their final rounds before the doctors started their rounds, and then they started the shift change. And those were long days. The first day was 21 days. It was only supposed to be 7. But Brad's intestinal system took a while to wake up. And then we went home. We had a lot of challenges with his ileostomy at the time. And I was not taking care of myself during that time. I was not taking care of myself mentally. I was not taking care of myself physically. I was getting run down. I was getting exhausted. I was getting the littlest things were setting. Like, I remember one night I cooked dinner and had taken it into the family room, and we'd sat there and eaten dinner, and I got the plates, and all I had was 2 plates and 2 forks. That's all I was carrying. And I walked into the kitchen and I looked at that dishwasher, because I was going to put them in the dishwasher, and just the thought of opening that dishwasher to put 2 plates and 2 forks into that dishwasher overwhelmed me so much that I literally had a meltdown there in the kitchen. I could not bring myself to open a dishwasher and put in 2 plates and 2 forks. 4 items, which would have taken all of 5 seconds, 10 seconds. The thought of even opening that dishwasher was enough, because I wasn't taking care of myself physically and mentally, and I was allowing the stress and the anxiety of everything to get to me, and the tough time that we were having with Brad's ileostomy. It just got to me so much, and I just put the stuff down on the counter and just walked away. I couldn't deal with the kitchen. And I am somebody who takes pride in my kitchen. I like to have a nice clean kitchen. I clean as I cook. So when it comes to cleaning up after dinner and everything else, there's not much left. It's put away the leftovers and not much left to clean up. I like to, I've always taken pride in my kitchen, and to walk out of that kitchen and leave 2 plates and 2 forks on the kitchen, that was not me. And Brad's like, what's the problem? I said, I can't even put these in the dishwasher. And he's like, okay. He said, so we go to paper plates for now. And like that problem was solved. I didn't have to worry about the anxiety of putting something in a dishwasher, or then having to turn the dishwasher on, empty it later. I didn't have to worry about that. All it was everything went on paper plates. We ate with plastic knives and forks. And when we were finished, I just went over to the trash can, opened it up, and dropped everything in. Problem solved for a few months, until the stress levels got down and I could handle using a dishwasher again. It's sometimes it was the littlest things that would set you off. But if you're not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, all sorts of things can happen. You can end up making yourself sick because of it. And the golden rule of caregiving is always take care of yourself before you take care of your loved ones. And that was a really hard concept for me to grasp, because I am such a nurturer by nature. And if you remember back to podcast number 1111, when we had Brandon Barnum on, we're talking about the bank code with Blueprint. The Blueprint, Action Taker, Nurturer, and Knowledge. And my aunt, and this is a personality type. So if you want to go back, you can go back and watch the podcast number 1111. Go back and watch that one. And in the description of that, you can actually go and find your bank code. And mine is a nurturer. It's always has been. It always will be. I come from a long line of service, of a family of service, from first responders to my mum was a nurse. My dad was a fireman, then a policeman. I've had grandparents and their siblings all serving in military, great-grandparents and their siblings who served in military. So it goes back a few generations, but there's always been this active service within our family. So I kind of got screwed on that one. But that's okay, because I don't mind. I love it. I love serving. I love finding ways to help people live their best life now, helping people cross destinations off their travel bucket list before they take a dirt nap. finding out who's in their tree. I love, and if I can be of service to somebody, that's where I thrive. And so having to learn to take care of myself first, that was a lot of hard work. And there's still times that I will take care of Zephyr before I take care of myself. It's just the two of us, making sure that she's got food, that she's got water, that we're out walking, and I will put her needs ahead of mine. So it's a very hard thing to learn for somebody who is a nurturer by nature. If you're a person of service, it's very hard at times to understand that concept of take care of yourself before you take care of your loved ones. Because if you don't take care of yourself, this is what I got drilled into me. If you don't take care of yourself, when you get sick, who's going to take care of you? And that kind of drove it home for me, because there was times that Brad came home and after chemo treatments and stuff, and he would have his days where he crashed. They gave him steroids and stuff that would help him for a few days, but as the chemo accumulated in his system, that period of him being what we called up got shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point where around treatment number 10 we had to say, look, he needs a break, because Brad was literally going from one chemo session, and his next chemo session wasn't for another 2 weeks, and when they gave him the steroids, he would sort of like not crash for about a week afterwards, but then that period got shorter and shorter the more chemo treatments he had, and it got to the point where by number 10 he was still on a crash from treatment number 9 2 weeks beforehand. And so he was just sort of like, I need a break. And so he had actually had a 3-week break, 4 week. He had a 3-week break at that point. And then we went back and did the last 2. But it was sort of like, okay, if he was crashing and I got sick, who was going to take care of him during his crash? Because he couldn't do much when he was crashing. He was constantly tired. I was making sure that he had food to eat, stuff to drink. So it was a very tough time, and having to learn to take care of myself so that I didn't get sick, so I could take care of him. That it was a hard concept. When he passed, it was like, oh, what do I do? I've always had somebody to take care of, and our dog passed away 18 days before Brad did, and we'd had our dog for 12 and a half years. We'd had our dog, 12 and a half years at that point. Almost 13 years at that point. And then Brad passed, and I've been taking care of him with his cancer. It was 9 years, 8 months, and 3 days from the day I was diagnosed to the day he passed. And all of a sudden, I'm in an empty house, and there's just me. Well, my parents were there for the first month, which was awesome. Then they went home, and then a week later, a friend came out after they went home, and she helped me get all my accounting books all back in alignment again too. So grateful for her. So grateful for that. But people were taking care of me at that point. I didn't know how to react to that. My mother, basically, when the month they were there after Brad passed, she literally took over the kitchen. She made sure that we all had breakfast, we had lunch, we had dinner, we had morning tea, we had afternoon tea. She made sure that we were fed, that we had our meals, that we had our breaks. And she took care of that, so I didn't even have to think about it. And my mom was a nurse. She's a nurturer by nature as well. And it felt really weird to have somebody taking care of me. But then I was in this fog, and I didn't know what to do. I no longer had anybody to take care of. And that has been a struggle for me in the last 5 years, is I've had nobody to take care of until I got Zephy almost 3 years ago. And that changed. When I got her to take care of it, so like, oh, I have somebody to take care of. I found my place again. But it was during that time before I got Zephy, was learning to take care of myself. And somebody turned around and said, well, and I was at one of my counseling sessions, because I had weekly counseling at that point. And my counselor said to me, she says, you do have somebody to take care of. She says, you've got to take care of yourself. Oh, she says, you can be a caregiver to yourself. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can take care of myself. I can take myself on as my own patient or my own person to take care of myself. And that was a big breakthrough for me in learning to take care of myself. It has been a big, I still struggle with it today, There is times I will catch myself, even though I'm on a really cool wellness plan. And the wellness plan I am on is one I absolutely love because it's all foods I will eat. It's the whole eating plan is all foods I will eat. And I said to them, I says, okay, it's the middle of summer. It's 3 digits outside. There ain't no way in heck I am cooking anything inside my RV. I said, I have the air fryer, which doesn't get too hot and is pretty okay. I've got the George Foreman grill, which gets a little hot, but it's only on for a short period of time. I can handle that. I am not putting my gas cooker on because that's just too hot in the vehicle. And I said, we're talking about being 80 degrees inside the RV during the day while it's 120 outside. Sometimes it gets a little warmer in the RV. And I said, no, I'm definitely not putting the oven on. I said, I don't even know how to use my oven, which is why I got the air fryer. And I said, and I have my Instapot, which doesn't put out any heat. So I said, so if it can be cooked in that, and they said, oh, what about a microwave? I said, yeah, no. I said, my microwave's great storage. I don't like using microwaves. I haven't really. It took Brad, after we moved into our house in Virginia, it took him 5 years to convince me to get a microwave. 5 years he had to suffer without a microwave in the house. I just don't like using them. But the microwave in this RV, it works, but it's great storage. It's a great storage place. I keep my plasticware up there. I keep my supplements in there. It's great storage. And it's got a really good timer on the front too. If you have to time anything, I just put the timer on and it works really well. That's all I use my microwave for, is storage and as a timer. When I'm in the kitchen and I've got the air fryer going, or I've got the George Foreman grill going, or the Instapot takes care of itself with the timer. And but yeah, so I know, crazy things. So my menus that I get for my eating plan don't require basically the stuff that's just not cooked. Occasionally, like once or twice a week, there'll be a steak on there or a hamburger that I can quickly cook on the George Foreman grill. You just heat it up and it sits there for like 3 to 4 minutes, and boom, it's done. And then that thing gets turned off and we're good. And I usually do that one first thing. If I'm going to be doing a steak or a hamburger, I usually do it for breakfast. So I actually switch the meals around. I will do that for breakfast instead of for dinner, because dinner is when the RV is at its warmest. Morning is when it's at its coolest. So I will cook in the cool of the day and do it that way. A lot of people around here have grills outside for cooking outside the RV. I don't know how to use one. It's on my list to learn. But with how hot it is out there, you're talking 120 degrees outside. Yeah, no. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. I mean, even some of the park ones, my next door neighbor, he's got a grill that sits out here in his carport, 8 feet from my RV, and he'll go out there and he'll turn that on rather than cooking the food in the house. They'll cook it outside in his carport, right there. Get some great smell, and Zeffie knows when that's on. She will tell you when that is on. But so it's all about taking care of yourself. Pamper yourself from time to time. Maybe it's going and getting your hair cut, which I know I need to do before my mother sees this and reminds me I need to go get a haircut. I haven't had my hair cut since the 14th of January 2020. So that's coming up on 3 years. But pampering yourself, going and getting a massage, getting a manicure, a pedicure, getting your hair done. It could be pampering yourself could be going out and buying yourself a new outfit. I mean, I had to go. One thing I don't really like doing is buying clothes for myself. I don't like buying clothes. I do have to go get myself some shoes, because I looked at my shoes the other day, my walking shoes, and went, oh yeah, we're starting to get to the rubber that's underneath the rubber, you got the tread, then you got that rubber layer, and we need to get some new shoes. And I'm just like, damn, I've got to go find a store to go to get shoes. But when it comes to clothes buying, it was like I literally had to go and get, like, my sparkle top. I love my sparkle tops. I love wearing my sparkle tops for meetings and networking and business stuff and that sort of thing. And but my sparkle tops have become a tent on me recently because of how much weight I have released. They've become tense on me, and they looked terrible on camera. So I had to go and buy new sparkle tops, and they're all 2 sizes smaller than what I used to wear. So like, okay, I can agree to that. I know where the sparkle tops are. I know where to get them. I know what their sizing is. I'm gonna go 2 sizes too small. So this is 2 sizes smaller than what I was wearing, and it'll do for about another month or so. Then I'll probably have to go replace them again. But that's okay. This happens when you shrink. When you release weight, it happens. But do something that pampers yourself. It could be even, and somebody's been trying to talk me into doing it's take yourself out for dinner. It took me a long time after Brad had passed before I took myself out to lunch one day. I was out doing one of my big circular routes to get to the mail place, and on my way there was a Denny's, and I thought, well, let me go into Denny's. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. There was one other table occupied in the entire restaurant, and I found this little corner to sit in, and I had my Kindle with me, so I pulled that out and just sat there and read and placed my order and I could feel the anxiety getting up because I was sitting by myself in a restaurant, and I don't usually do that. I usually have somebody to sit and talk with or to eat with, and so it was very weird, but I managed to do that, and that was some months after Brad had passed. It took me months before I could go take myself into a restaurant. How often have I done it since then? Not very often. Nope. I'd rather get the food delivered than go into a restaurant and eat it. But I have been challenged. I will say this: I have been challenged to take myself out for lunch one day or take myself out for dinner. So I'm working on that. But there is a restaurant that's like a couple of miles from here that has an outdoor patio area that is pet friendly. So I can actually take Zeffy with me and go and sit there and sit out on their patio and have lunch one day or dinner one day and have Zeffy there with me. Although she is a challenge, she needs to learn dining room etiquette, because my boss happened to be in town one day and I got to meet her in person, which was really cool. And we met at this place that was pet friendly, but I couldn't take Zeffy inside to order the food. You have to leave the dogs outside. And I'm like, well, what if you're by yourself? And this is a challenge that I have to face. But fortunately, she went in and did all the ordering and stuff for it. But Zeffy needs to learn restaurant etiquette, because we're sitting at the table. And I'm at the table in this corner here. So there's a table, and I've got my back to the walkway area. It would be a wall. If there was a wall behind me, my back would have been against the wall. There was a lady at the table next to us. There was some people at the table that were diagonal to me, and then there was people sitting behind my boss. And Zeffy was trying to get to all of them to say, hi, can I have some tidbits? And so we just had to distract her with treat after treat after treat. She did not like the treats that they had there for the dogs and stuff. So fortunately, I always carry, and I've got her little bag that has a bowl, a collapsible bowl in there for her water. We have treats in there for her. We have some food in there for her. So I got a couple of collapsible bowls. I got a really cool, actually I didn't take that bag that day. Got a really cool weekend getaway bag for pets where it's actually got zippered containers to put food in there or treats, and then you've got collapsible bowls in there, and it all comes in sort of like, it's almost the equivalent of a diaper bag but for dogs. When you got all your baby supplies in a diaper bag, this is all your puppy supplies in a dog bag. So think of it that way. But yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna find some way to do some restaurant etiquette with her and get her to sit and stay. Although the first time I took her to a restaurant, she was pretty good, because I was where were we? Oh, we were in Tucson, and a friend of mine met up with me, and so and she was taking me around Tucson and stuff. And so we went to this little restaurant place. We're out there on the patio, and Zeffy sat in the chair next to me. That's where she sat during the whole meal. She sat in the chair next to me, and she just sat there. And they brought out a bowl of water for her. The restaurant brought out a bowl of water for her, and she sat there at the table. And yes, she got little tidbits and stuff too, and I had little treats for her. And that was the best behavior she didn't know what she was doing at the time. And the next time I took her to a restaurant, she's trying to get under the table and go see the person that we were talking with. She wouldn't get up on the chair next to me and sit there. She wanted to go explore and all over the place. And then, so I've only had her in restaurants 3 or 4 times. And now she's sort of like, oh, there's people over there, let me go say hi. But then when I met my friend in Tucson and we went to that restaurant too, I'd only had Zeffy, how long had I had her? about 3 or 4 months at that point. So she was still that shy little puppy that wasn't quite sure what was going on, and we were still getting used to each other and all of that. But now she's got a lot more confidence, and she's like, "Oh, people, hello." So pamper yourself. Take yourself out for a meal or something like that. If you want to go get an ice cream, go get an ice cream. It just sounds really good. No, too much sugar at night. I've actually just got myself a little personal ice cream maker, so I'm going to actually try that out and I'll let you know how that goes. Do things that you enjoy. So taking care of yourself is, like Brad would say to me when during our what we call the 4 months of hell, when he had the ileostomy from hell, he was like, go get a massage. But I couldn't at the time because I needed to be no more than 30 minutes from home, so that if the seals broke on his ostomy bag, I had to get home in time to change it. So I would go off to Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble is my home away from home. Barnes & Noble and Michael's, my two favorite places. And so I would go off to Barnes & Noble and wander around the store. And for me to leave Barnes & Noble without buying anything, like not even buying a magazine or anything, is very rare. But that's what I would do to get time to myself, is I would go off to say, look, just go get out of the house for a bit. And he was like literally kicking me out of the house. Look, I'm fine. Just changed the ostomy. We'll be fine. I'm just going to take a nap. He says, so go off and take yourself. I'll call you if anything changes. And so I would take myself off to Barnes & Noble for a bit. It was a 15 minute drive from our house. And I would go wander around Barnes & Noble for a little bit. They had a Starbucks there. I would get my, what's it called? It's some Frappuccino that's full of chocolate. It's full of chocolate. It's like a double, triple chocolate, bloody, bloody, blah. And it had no coffee in it. And I would treat myself to one of those. And then I would, I had to be gone for wherever I was going. I had to be there for at least an hour before I could leave to go back home again, unless he called me. And so that would be my little outing. Or I'd go over to Michael's and spend some time walking around. And again, another place for me that's hard to walk out of there without buying anything, because I would start getting all these creative ideas and things. And this is something that happens when you get that time to yourself. You get that creativity flowing back in as well. When you're under a lot of anxiety and stress, it tampers down. But just being able to go for a walk through Michael's was enough to lift that anxiety and that stress and reduce it enough that I could sort of oh, that's really cool. And I actually ended up one time buying these beads that had these big safety pins in them and making these little angel ornament things for the tree. You had to thread these beads onto these big safety pins, and they would form the skirt of the angel, and then you had this little thing to make the wings. They had that was a kit. So I got to do that. That was my thing. Another thing I like doing is jigsaw puzzles, reading, just taking time for yourself. Just taking time out for yourself and getting away. And sometimes you got to turn around. We were at, this is the funniest story. This was back in 2000. So we're going back a few years. We were in LA and we were visiting Brad's best friend and his wife, and they had a new baby. It was their firstborn. And we had Brad's boys were with us, and we get there, and Mike's oldest son was there. So Brad's three boys and Danny went off and did whatever they were going to do and got together and hung out together. And Brad and Mike are talking, and I sit down on the couch there next to her, and she takes one look at me and she goes, "You want to get out of here?" I went, "Yeah." And she says, "Let's go out for dinner." I went, "Okay." And so I said, "What are the guys going to do?" She says, "I'll figure it out." And we literally got up, and Rhonda grabbed her handbag and her keys and says, we're going out for dinner. You guys are on your own. We'll be back. And we left. We walked out. We hopped in the car, and we went off to Black Angus, and we had a great time. Just the two of us, just hanging out there at the restaurant. We had great steaks. We had yummy chocolate. Both of us are huge chocoholics, so we got like the chocolatiest dessert that they had, and just loved on that. And we were gone for like 2 hours, and we were at like 2 hours at the restaurant, and then we drove back to their place. And the guys at first, when we got back, they had gotten them pizza or something like that, and they all had pizza for dinner or whatever. And and they were going like, "You didn't tell us you weren't coming back." They thought that we were gone to get dinner and we're bringing it back for everybody. It took them like 30 minutes to realize that we weren't coming back, that they were that we had actually gone out for dinner together, just the two of us. And so then they were sort of like, what do we do? So they ordered pizza in, and they just had a guys' night. They had a couple of hours guys' night with just the two guys and the two dads and their sons. So they had this father-son, best friends, guys' evening thing, while Rhonda and I took off for a couple of hours and went and had a girls' night out at a steakhouse. It was awesome. But it took away some of the stress that we were going through at the time. She was a brand new mom. Her baby was, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 months at the time. And so the guys had to look after the baby, and they got their own food. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was injured. Everybody was okay. So it was a good night out. So sometimes you just got to escape. But let somebody know at least that you're escaping and that you're going to go and do some, if you're with a family or anything, just make sure that somebody knows that you're leaving for a bit and you'll be back in a couple of hours, that you're taking some time for you. But anyway, so this is all about taking care of yourself so you can live your best life now, taking care of yourself so you can take care of those that you take care of. Carving out that time, get it in your calendar, carve out that time each day. It could be taking a bath in the evening. I'm not a bath person, but I know there are people who like their bath. They like, take yourself away. Say, I'm going to go and take a bath. Don't disturb me unless it's a life-threatening situation. Always emphasize, if you want alone time in the house, you put a do not disturb sign on the door of whatever room you're in with instructions that door is not to be disturbed unless it is a life-threatening situation. And you'll be surprised at how well that works. When back in Virginia, I had my office there, and I had this comfy chair that Gus claimed as his own, but I had a comfy chair there, and I would go and sit there and put my feet up and read. And that was my personal time. That was my time. I had my bookcases, had my partial dream room, because my full dream room is to have a nice big comfy chair that I can curl up in with a good book, and be surrounded by a room with floor-to-ceiling bookcases. I have that in my log cabin. I have something close to that in my log cabin. In fact, I will have that in my log cabin. I just realized where it was going to go. So I will be able to have my little office/relaxation spot in this one room, and there'll be floor-to-ceiling bookcases in there, full of books, big comfy chair, desk for the work stuff, view of the lake out the window, good little sound system to pipe in whatever music I feel like at the time, and that would be cool. Or just open the window and allow nature's sounds to come inside. And with that visual, have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Remember to take care of you, get it in your calendar, schedule that time. And if you've got little kids and stuff, just talk to your partner and say, hey, I need some downtime. And make sure that they get downtime as well, so they're not feeling like you're taking all the downtime and they're not getting any downtime. But take care of each other and make sure you take care of yourselves first. I know that it's hard to do, but go out, have a super fantastic sparkling rest of your day, and we'll catch you guys back here around 6 p.m. Oh, actually, no, tomorrow it will be 7:15 p.m. tomorrow. No, hang on. Calendar. 7:30 tomorrow. 7:30 tomorrow night Pacific time is when we will be live tomorrow night. So have a super fantastic, because I have a networking thing on, and then I have to walk I have to walk Zephy before I get on at 7:30. So have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, konara.